So good afternoon, everybody. Just thank you for joining us today. And I'd like to thank the Harrison Library for having me again. I really enjoy doing these, and we always have just so much fun. So today, Giovanna had given me a couple of things to choose from to make, and I decided to do a Boston cream pie. Now, there's a lot of moving parts to this. There's like 3 separate components, so we're going to try and get through it. They're all pretty easy, but you just have to stay organized and keep going. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat box, and she'll feed it to me. And that's it. So we're going to start. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the pastry cream that goes in between the 2 cake layers because we want that to chill for a little bit. So what we're going to do is we have our milk, and we're going to put it in a saucepan, and we're going to take half our sugar and put it in. And I'm going to take it and put it on the burner that I have right here. And that's going to warm up. So while that's warming, we are going to mix up some egg yolks. I'm going to separate my eggs now. Save these whites and do something else with them later. There's one. And so what we're going to do is we're going to mix these eggs with the rest of the sugar and some cornstarch. Now we're using cornstarch as our thickener today. Some people use flour in their pastry cream. I just don't like the way it tastes. I'd rather use the cornstarch. You can use less. The thickening power of cornstarch is a little stronger than flour. Okay, so I'm going to put these aside, and I've got my egg yolks in there. And to that, I said we're going to add the rest of the flour. We're going to add the rest of the sugar, and we're going to add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and just a pinch of salt. So there we go. We got our salt in there, and we're going to do 3 tablespoons. I'm sorry, it was 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons, and that was just a little less. So there we go. We're going to take a whisk, and we're going to whisk this all up together until it's really nice and smooth. There we go. And this doesn't take very long at all. I'm going to get this really nice and mixed up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our warmed milk. Let me see how warm that is. It needs to be a little bit warmer. Take our warm milk, and we're going to gradually add it to our eggs. And that's what's known as temperature. We want to bring the temperature of the eggs very gradually up to the temperature what the milk is. If we were to pour the warm milk all at once, you'd probably end up with scrambled eggs. So we want it to be smooth. But just in case, I find out no matter how careful I am, sometimes you get little bits of egg in there, and we are going to strain this through a mesh strainer, looks like this, before we refrigerate it. Okay, so our milk is pretty warm. I'm going to put my bowl on a dish towel so that when I'm whisking, it's not spinning around. I'm just going to raise this up just a little bit. So we're going to take our milk, and we're going to pour it in very, very gradually, just a little bit at a time. And you can see our milk is smoking. It's warm now. And just a little bit at a time. And you'll notice that the eggs will stay smooth. They're not seizing up. They don't look like scrambled eggs. And this is anytime you're making like a sauce or something with eggs, this is a good technique to know, to temper those eggs. Okay. After you've added about a half, the eggs should pretty much be the same temperature as the milk. And you notice they're still staying liquid, which is what we want. Okay. And not only does the cornstarch act as a thickener, the eggs will act as a little bit of a thickener too. Okay, So we've got that mixed. And what we're going to do is, I'm going to get a spatula. Oh, that one right here. And we are just going to pour that mixture back into the pan with the milk. There we go. Okay. I'm going to get my burner and we're going to put it over, low to medium heat. And we're just going to stir it because we don't want it to stick on the bottom. And we want it to gradually come up to the heat and thicken. This takes a little bit of time, so you just have to be patient. And this isn't something I would put on the stove and then walk away. You want to keep an eye on it. Here we go. If Giovanna, are we getting an echo? I hear me like as an echo. Is that anybody else hearing that, or is it just me?
I do not hear an echo. That might be because you have two cameras.
So maybe it's just, that might be. Okay, I'm glad. Well, that's good that no one else hears it. That's fine. Okay, so it's starting to thicken a little bit. You can see on the bottom, like the bottom will start thicken first, which is why we want to keep stirring it up. Okay. And we're going to keep stirring. So I'm going to get my strainer, and I have my vanilla extract. I'm not using extracted, I'm using actually vanilla bean paste, which is pretty much the same, except it has those beautiful little vanilla seeds in it and gives it like a little speckled design. So this is thickening up pretty quickly. And we want to just keep moving it around. I may switch to my whisk just so it doesn't get lumpy. And you can see that it's starting to get thick. Here we go. And we want it to just come to a boil because cornstarch will, its thickening properties will peak just before it comes to boil. You can see there's some bubbles. So I think we are right where we want to be. And we're going to take this off the heat. You can see it's nice and smooth and it's very thick. It's a lot thicker than it was when we started. I'm going to turn this off and I'm just going to move it to the side for a minute. So we're on a little bit of a time crunch today, and we want this to cool off quickly. So instead of pouring it into a bowl, I'm going to spread it out onto a sheet pan. And being that the layer is a lot thinner than it would be in a bowl, it's going to cool off much, much quicker. So that's a little trick if you need to cool off your pastry cream quicker. So we're going to pour it right into that strainer. Actually, let me get a bowl. Ugh. I'm putting it in the bowl first only because we need to mix the vanilla, and then we'll pour it on our tray. Okay. Get this all out of here. We're just going to push it through our strainer. Oh, this looks so delicious. I could just eat this with like berries. And I will use this as a filling for like cream puffs. What I do is I take a little whipped cream and I fold it in, which will lighten it up too. That's really good. That's known as diplomat cream or creme diplomat when you fold in whipped cream. Okay, so that's it. We've got our pastry cream done. I'm gonna add a little vanilla to this. There we go. And just mix it up. And you want to add, especially vanilla, or if you're using an extract, at the end, because the heat will kind of cook off the flavor and it will evaporate, and you won't get a really nice vanilla flavor. So now I'm going to put it in our pan. There we go. I'm going to spread it out and then cover it with plastic wrap, and we're going to press it right onto the surface so we don't get a skin on our pastry cream. I'm going to take a little taste. That's really good. I'm gonna get some plastic wrap. Don't press too hard. You don't want to smush it all the way down. Just make sure that it's covered. And that way we won't get a skin on top. So I'm gonna put this in the fridge. And by the time we put our cakes together, this should be nice and cool and ready to go. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is we are going to make our glaze, our chocolate glaze, because that has to sit a while and kind of thicken up. So I've got a little pot here. And into the glaze, we have 3 tablespoons of water. There we go. And we have 3 tablespoons of butter. It's going to go right in. I'm going to turn our pot on. Okay. I need just a little whisk for this. Okay. And we're going to add a tablespoon of corn syrup, and corn syrup will help it to give that nice shiny look to it when it's dry. So I'm just going to eyeball this. It's about a tablespoon I'm putting in. And the next thing we're going to add after this, we're going to wait for this to the butter to melt. And to that, we're going to add some, I'm looking for my tablespoon. What did I do with it? Oh, there it is.
There's one question. Can you use agave syrup instead of corn syrup?
I think it should work, but you are putting regular sugar in here. So if you're trying to use it as a sugar substitute, we are putting powdered sugar in here. I think it should be okay. Okay, and it's not that much, it's just a tablespoon. But if that's what you have, I wouldn't go out and buy a whole big bottle of corn syrup if you're not going to use it for anything else. So we're going to let that melt. Okay. I've got my powdered sugar all measured out. And here we go. So this is melted. So that was quick. It doesn't take long for that butter to melt. So I'm going to turn this off. And I'm going to move it all the way to the side because we are done with that. Okay. Okay. So there's the beginnings of our glaze. So I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa powder. You can also, I happen to like this glaze, but you can also do a ganache, which is, dark chocolate melted with heavy cream, if you like that. I'm going to whisk this together.
Another question, Tina. Can you use Dutch processed cocoa powder?
Yes, you can use any kind of, as long as it's unsweetened, because we're adding the powdered sugar to it, and it just would be like probably too sweet if you added like milk or dark or something like that. So just make sure, like a sweetened cocoa, just make sure that it's unsweetened cocoa powder. Okay, we're going to add our sugar in just a little at a time. Just whisk it, till it's smooth. Just add the rest of it in. Again, just whisk till it's smooth, and I'm going to add my vanilla in now. And we want this to cool off and to start to thicken. So After it's all mixed up, I'm going to take it out of this pot because the pot is warm and it's going to keep it warm. I'm going to put it into a bowl, a room temperature bowl. Okay, just mix this up. So it's nice and smooth. You get into those corners. Okay. There we go. I'm going to pour it right in here. This is going to start to thicken and cool and kind of set up. Okay. We're just going to set this to the side. Do a quick little cleanup. Okay. Here we go. So we're going to make the sponge cake now. Regular sponge cake, it's called a hot milk sponge cake, which I find it's a little denser than regular sponge cake, but it's a little bit lighter than like a regular, butter, vanilla or egg, based but layer cake. So I've made two. I'm going to show you how to put the batter together. But we have made, I've made two ahead of time, and this recipe will make either 2 6-inches or 1 8-inch. So if you're doing the 8-inch, you're going to have to cut it in half and then fill it. With the 2 6-inches, it's going to be a higher cake, which I kind of like the way that looks. And you don't have to cut it in half, which is going to stack the layers. So we're going to come back to those. And you can see they're like a nice golden brown. They're nice and spongy, but they're not as spongy as a sponge cake. They have a little more meat to them. So we're just going to push that off to the side. And I'm going to get my mixer. If you are using a stand mixer, you're going to need to use the whisk attachment. If you're using a hand mixer, the 2 beaters will work just fine. It's just you're going to be there beating a long time though. So we're going to actually what we're going to do first is I'm going to warm up my milk and my butter. So you're going to take your half a cup of milk and your 5 tablespoons of butter. And the easiest thing to do is just put it in the microwave. I put it for about 1 minute and 15 seconds, which is usually good. And you want it to be, I put between 150 and 160 degrees. You just won't want it to be over 160 degrees. You don't want it to be like seriously boiling hot because you're gonna, it's just gonna, you've got eggs in here. It's just gonna mess with the consistency of the eggs and the consistency of the mixtures that you have already. So I'm just gonna pop this in my microwave. Okay. Okay. So I know that the order of things is to whisk your flour and your baking powder and set aside. So what I'm going to do is while this is mixing, because this is going to take about 3 or 4 minutes to mix, that's when we'll do our flour so we're not wasting time. So in your bowl, you're going to put 2 whole eggs, and I use large eggs. So Boston cream pie, and everybody looks at it and it's a cake. It's not a pie, it's a cake. So I did a little research on it, and it was actually developed in the Parker House. It was like a hotel. It's called the Omni Parker House now in Boston. And that was also the birthplace of the Parker household. And supposedly they were competing against another dessert that was out at the time, the state dessert, I think of Washington or something, that was actually something very similar, but it was chocolate. It was actually a pie. So they wanted to give it a name like pie, so the one that they were competing against. But this particular hotel still serves it today. And where's my sugar? And yeah, they it is also, I believe, the state dessert of Massachusetts.
There's
we're
a
going to add
question.
to this 170 grams of sugar, which is about 3/4 of a cup plus a tablespoon. And I've got my scale and I'm going to weigh it. I'm just going to pour it in until I get to 170. If you want to, a lot of people ask me, can you reduce the sugar? You could probably reduce the sugar till maybe about 160, 155 if you want to just cut back a little on the sugar.
Tina, there's a question about the liquid vanilla. Are you using any liquid
Yes.
vanilla? Okay.
It's 1-for-1. What I'm using today is vanilla bean paste, and you can use it 1-for-1. So if I say a teaspoon of vanilla extract, I'm using a teaspoon of vanilla paste. So it's fine to use either or. They're interchangeable. Because I'm going to put my whisk attachment on, and this is going to go. And what's going to happen is it's going to become a lot lighter in color, and it's going to almost like double in volume. I'm going to put this here so you can see as it goes. And you can put this right up on high speed. So the next thing we're going to mix our dry ingredients together. And we have 120 grams of flour, which is 1 cup. I'm going to actually measure that too today. You can see it's already getting a little bit lighter. I'm going to measure our flour. And again, 120 grams or 1 cup. And we also have a teaspoon and 1/4 baking powder. And 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to mix that together. And you don't have like clumps of baking powder. You can see it's still getting lighter, and it's starting to really come up in volume. This is what gives a lot. I mean, we're putting baking powder in here, but this also helps to incorporate air into it and to give it a little bit of lift. So let that go. I'm going to go get my milk. I have an instant read thermometer. I'm just going to see how hot the milk is. We don't want it to be too hot. Let's see what it gets up to. Takes about 162, but by the time our eggs are done and we added our dry ingredients, it should be cool enough. And there's our glaze. It's starting to thicken and cool off. We're going to have more glaze left than we need. You can put it in a jar and stick it in the fridge and have it over ice cream or pound cake or whatever you like. So that's starting to cool. And I might even throw this in the fridge for a little bit just to get it cool. Okay, so this is about 3 to 4 minutes right now. I'll show you. It's really thickened. It looks really nice, nice and thick. It's doubled in volume. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to add our dry ingredients to this, but a little bit at a time. I'm going to add about 1/3. I'm going to put it on medium. Before each addition, we really want to scrape the sides. If you can see there's some flour that's getting stuck on the sides, and we really want to make sure that everything is incorporated. And there we go.
Tina, another
I'm going to add a little
question.
bit more. Yes.
So again, regarding the vanilla paste versus vanilla liquid, is there an advantage
Yeah.
to using the paste versus the liquid?
I want the paste. Well, the paste has some of the seeds in it. I think it gives you a more vibrant vanilla flavor. Actually, I got this tube at Stop and not Stop and Shop, ShopRite on Central Avenue for everybody that's local, or wherever your ShopRite is. It just has a little bit more intense vanilla flavor. And the last little bit of flour. We're going to scrape our sides. Okay, that looks good. Right. I've got my two 6-inch pans, and I've got parchment paper rounds. We're going to grease the bottoms of those. Let me get a little butter. You can use a napkin or paper toweling or whatever. I just happen to have some butter here. And I'm going to butter the bottom and the sides. And then I'm going to press down the parchment just on the bottom. And then I'm going to flour it. So we've got the butter, we've got the parchment on the bottom, and we're going to have the flour on the sides with the butter. And your cake, mine came right out. Just make sure you do a good job with that butter. Make sure you get into that little crevice where the side meets the bottom. And again, if you have the 8-inch pan, you can do the same thing. Make sure it's buttered really well. There we go. You can see what I'm doing. There we go. I'm going to put my parchment discs on the bottom. Make sure they're pressed down all the way. You don't want to get any batter going underneath them. So make sure they're pressed and they stick. That's why we butter the bottom, so there's something to stick on. And there's the second one. So it's nice and flat. And I'm going to take just a little bit of flour. Just pour it into one. And just kind of roll it around until it's all coated. And just tap out any excess. And as you can see, there's the pan. It's all buttered, floured, and lined. So you should be good and not have any problems getting that cake out. So I'm going to pour my excess flour in the sink. Give it a few wraps. You don't want any excess flour stuck in there. All right, so we've got our 2 pans already prepared. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the mixer back on, and we're going to gradually add our hot milk and butter mixture. Okay. So the batter's going to get a little bit thin. Pour that in. And I'm going to take it off the mixer. And I'm going to finish with the spatula. Everybody can see. I'm going to pull this out of the way. And we're going to go from underneath, almost like a folding. And you can see that it's much thicker on the bottom, because this incorporates it a little bit better than the whisk attachment does. So start it off on the mixer, and then you can finish it with a spatula. And there, I think everything is very well combined. We're not, there's nothing stuck on the bottom of the bowl, which is what you want to make sure that there isn't. Okay. And we're going to just divide the batter evenly amongst the two pans. If you have the 8-inch, all the batter goes in the one pan. So I'm gonna, actually I can use my scale, and I believe it's about 275 grams in half. So let's see. The scale is like your best friend in the kitchen. Okay, this is just about 275. And I'm gonna do the next one. Let's see. There's a little bit left in here. Get every last little bit. It's about 275 grams for each if you split the batter. So I've got my oven preheated to 350, and I'm going to put these in, and I'm going to set the timer for 25 minutes, and we're going to check them after that. Okay, be right back.
How's everybody doing? I see a few of you are cooking with us, baking with us.
Oh, well, you are. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually ask. I forgot to ask today. How, what part is everybody up to?
Well, Wynn looks like pretty much almost caught up.
Terrific. Okay, so your cake is probably going to come out well after we're just about done. I have mine already baked, but you can watch me put it together, and you can put it together when we're done.
And Connie's also baking with us. I can see she has a thumb up, so that's good.
Good. How did the pastry cream go and the glaze? Good?
She's thumbs up. You can unmute too if you'd like, but she
Great.
gave
Terrific. Yeah, you can unmute
up.
yourself.
So far, so good.
All right. Terrific. Okay. So I don't know if it's a tradition, but most Boston cream pies, you put the pastry cream in between your two cake layers, and you can see it, and then you pour the glaze on top, and some of it drips down. I'm not a huge fan of the way that looks. So as I'm scrolling through pictures of Boston cream pie the other day, I came across how the Omni Park Hotel does it. And what they do is they put the cream in the middle, they put their glaze on top, but they kind of finish it off a little bit. If any of you saw my picture that I posted on Facebook or Instagram yesterday, they take a little of the leftover pastry cream and they actually spread it around the outside like you would a frosting, and they stick some slivered toasted almonds on the side. And I just thought it looked so pretty. I figured let's do that today. Okay. So let me get a offset spatula. And I'm just gonna cut just a slight little bit off the tops of these, just to make them a little more even. Let's see. I just need to go down just a tiny bit. My handy dandy cake leveler. I'm just going to take a very tiny bit off the top. Okay. Now, what they also do at the Omni Parker is they also take a little simple syrup flavored with rum, and they brush the layers with that. So if you want to do that, you can do that too. Just sugar and water that you cook on the stove, equal amounts, and they add just a little bit of rum to it.
That sounds like a nice touch.
Okay. Right, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's
So I've got my first layer. I'm just going to put it right on my plate.
makes it a little more
And I'm
Italian.
going to go get the pastry cream. We're going to see if it's cooled off. I believe it should be. All right. It feels pretty cool. Should be good. I'm going to take this other one and I'm just going to cut a little off the top. Just level it off. Let me get a serrated edge because that one's kind of a little strange. Like the edges aren't even. I'm just going to go around a little bit. And just take this little kind of edge off. Make it a little smoother and a little flatter. Okay. So when we put this on, we're going to put the flat side, which was the bottom of the cake, up. So we have a nice flat top surface to work with. Okay. So there's our cake. I'm going to check my glaze too, because I put it in the fridge. I don't want it to set up too much because we still want to be able for it to pour. Okay. This looks pretty good. It's still not quite set up. If you find that it's not getting thick enough, this is pretty cold. You can always add just a tablespoon or two more of powdered sugar, and that will help it to thicken up a little bit. This little, not as much. I'm going to leave it in there until we need it. Okay, so we're going to take our pastry cream. We're going to dollop it on top. And this set up really nice. We're just going to spread it out. And depending on what you like, if you like a lot, you can make it a thick layer. I think we're going to put a little more in here. And go right, right to the edge. And I think this cake can take a little more. We just want to make sure we leave a little extra for the outside if that's the way you choose to decorate your cake. You don't have to. You can do it the more traditional way. I just think it looks so pretty with the toasted almonds. And if you don't like toasted almonds or someone's allergic to nuts in your house, you can shave some chocolate and you can do that. Or you can do mini chocolate chips, which I think would be really great too. Okay. We've got a nice even layer going on. I'll just scrape a little bit more. Okay. Then we're going to take our other one and we're going to put it right on top. Okay. So now most places they just leave it like that and then they pour the glaze and it kind of drips over the edge. So I'm going to get my turntable for this because it will definitely help. Something popped up on my screen. I just want to close it out. I'm not sure if it's blocking anything. Okay. Okay. So we're going to take a little of this pastry cream and we're going to go around the edge just like you would frost a cake. There we go. See if I can get a side view for you. There we go. Okay. We're gonna go around the edge. Just make sure that it's, covered in a layer, a thin layer of this, just so that the nuts or whatever you're putting on the side will stick to it. There we go. I'm gonna go all the way around. We're almost there. Okay. Go all the way down to the bottom, make sure it's all covered or they won't stick. We had just about enough. Perfect. There we go. Make sure this is all covered. Go right up to the top edge. Okay. There we go. And I'm gonna get our chocolate glaze. I'm not sure if it's quite set, but get a spoon. Yeah, it might still be a little bit runny. Make sure this is even. Okay. So we're gonna put some on the top. Okay. Doesn't look too bad. It looks okay.
Tina, your phone
Yeah,
camera shifted a little.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. So just make sure you put it in the middle and kind of push it out with the spoon. It won't, all start cascading down the side, which is not what we want. Unless that's what you do want. That's not how I'm decorating mine. Okay, we can put a little more. It's just about to the edge we want to go. Okay, you see how it's going to start dripping if I'm not careful. Okay. All right. My dish towel. Push this aside. Okay. So we're going to take our nuts and you kind of take them in the palm of your hand and you kind of just stick them on. Now there's going to be some that are going to fall. We're going to scrape those off and use them again. Go all the way up to the very top. And just keep doing it all the way around. And again, just take the ones that are falling off, put them back in the bowl, and reuse them. And if you have, if you go around and you look and you have any spots that are, that you can see the cream through, just take one and put it on. Okay, I'm almost all the way around. I'm gonna get some of these extras off here. Okay. Okay, we're almost at the meeting point. Okay. Just clean this up. Here we go. Okay. And there's a couple of spots where I need to just put a little more, like right where the top meets the top edge right here. We want to make sure we don't see any cake through there. I'm making a big, huge mess here, but that's okay. It's baking in real time, it's real baking. Okay, I think we've got this to where I want it. And anything extra on the edge, we're just going to take it off. You can also, if you want to do this, it might be easier to lift it and hold it up, is to put it on a cardboard, cake round. Okay, and we're going to move this to the side. I'm going to put this up here. Okay. And I'm going to take my spatula and just have anything that's left, just kind of press it onto the side. Just go around and press it on. And that'll kind of clean things up. There you go. And then again, if your plate is dirty, just get a piece of paper toweling, a little bit of water, and you go around the edge and you can clean it up. Make it look nice and pretty.
Tina, do we have to wait to cut the cake, like for it to sort of set?
Yes, I would put this in the fridge for a couple of hours. Before you go in and cut it. Okay, so I did not put this in the instructions, but so that little design on top, it almost looks like the design you put on a Napoleon, that feathered design. So you just need to mix a little powdered sugar and a little either milk or water. And I have some that I saved from yesterday. And you can put it in a piping bag, or you can put it in a Ziploc bag and just snip a little tip off. And we need either like a toothpick or a little metal dowel, if I can find one. If not, you can, oh, that one. Okay. I've got that confectioner's icing in here, and you want it to be pretty stiff. You don't want it to be very runny. I'm going to get this going a little bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type a spiral on here. And then we're going to pull this, this little metal toothpick through it. So we're going to start in the middle and we're going to go around. And I'm going to move the camera so you guys can see this. Okay, let me stop. And let me move it so you guys can see. Okay. Okay, so we're going to just go around in a circle as best you can. And all until you get to just to the edge.
Tina, there's another question.
Yes.
Can 2 pieces of wax paper be used beneath the cake, then frost and remove the wax
Yeah.
paper?
Of course. Oh, always. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are just about to the edge. And we're going to show you that design. We're just going to pull from the outside and just wipe it off after every time you pull it. And you get kind of like the spider web design.
That's beautiful.
It's so pretty and it doesn't really take that much
Oh, wow.
to do. If you want, you can do it from the outside in. Just like every other one.
Wow.
And there you have it.
Wow. It's beautiful.
So everybody that's baking, how are you guys doing?
I think they put stuff in the oven. They put the cakes in the oven. So now
Good.
you might be just watching.
Yeah.
Guys,
So how
can
did
you-
the pastry cream came out okay and everything?
I think, well, let's see, Win is there, but he's not unmuted and Connie might be on the phone. So let's see, Anna's
Okay.
thinking that she may have missed a step. How did you make the white icing? Ah,
Okay. Okay. I didn't actually make it today. I had some left over from when I made the cake yesterday. So if you just take confectioner's sugar and just add a little bit of milk or water to it and whisk it up, and you want it to be a pretty stiff consistency. You don't want it to be too liquidy, because you want it, when you pipe it, you want it to hold its shape on top of the glaze so you can make your design. If it's too liquidy, it's just going to kind of puddle. So it's just like, like if you're making, a confectioner's glaze to put over like muffins or a cake or something, it's the same thing. It's confectioner's sugar, and you can either use milk or water, and just gradually add the liquid until you get a kind of a stiff consistency. And I have a pastry bag with a very tiny round tip in it, or you can just put it in a Ziploc bag and just kind of snip one of the corners, just very small.
beautiful, just beautiful. Too bad we can't taste it. That's the hardest part.
I
is
know,
watching
I
these
know.
beautiful desserts. But pretty soon,
We were talking about this. I did a class for the Eastchester Library last week, and we were talking about that exact same thing. That, I mean, this is fun and it's nice, and I'm so happy to have this opportunity. But I really can't wait to have everybody right there and to see what's happening and to be able to taste, because that's like the best part,
Yeah.
right?
that is the best part. We have to set it up so either they can taste it before or after the program.
Right.
They'd have to come by the library,
Right.
get their grab and go. and
Yeah,
dessert.
I could always do something like that, right? Drop off some samples or whatever, and people that are signed up for the class can
get a
come
taste,
take a little
right?
taste.
Right. So yeah, no,
So-
definitely. This is the last program in this series, but if your schedule permits,
Yes.
we'll be
Yep.
in touch to do something over the summer. I know you're busy though, but
I would love to. And we can just do some more summer desserts. I mean, I've made granita. We could do an icebox cake. I did an icebox cake last year, I remember.
was
We can do an
fun,
icebox
yeah.
cake, or we can do a semi-Fredo. So there's a lot of, a lot of summer things to do. So
Well, our summer reading program for adults, the theme is reading colors your world. So we can do a lot of colorful type of desserts probably, or
yes, we can.
combination.
And I always tell everybody, if you have a baking question, anything, please feel free to reach out to me. You can, there's a get in touch tab on my website, tinazaccardi.com, and there's a form you just fill out, and the email goes directly to my Gmail, and I get it that day, pretty much immediately, because it's on my phone. And you can also direct message me through my Instagram. I'm the Italian Cookie. So, and just another little plug. Bake from Scratch magazine and No Kid Hungry is running this greatest baker competition. It's really all about kind of raising money for No Kid Hungry. And I actually entered myself. So if you go out to my Instagram or my Facebook page, you can get the link and you can vote once a day. And this is only the first round. It started today. So if everybody, remembers, just, I'd be grateful for a vote. I really appreciate it.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I put some information in the chat, so if anyone has any questions you didn't think of, you can contact Tina at a later time. You can also reach out to me. And if you want to share how your cake turned out, how your Boston cream pie,
Yes,
please do that. And then we'll either post it on our social media at the library, but I think it's always fun to see your end products. And let us know.
if you send me a picture, I'll definitely share it. Please send me pictures and, let me know. Even if something went wrong, let me know. Maybe I can help you troubleshoot it. Oh, my oven timer is going off, which means my cakes should just be about done. Let's see how they look. Oh, you can hear me, but you can't see me. They look really great. Okay, they look nice and golden brown. And I'll bring over one to show you. Okay.
Oh, beautiful.
That's one I took out of the oven.
Very nice.
Let it cool in the pan for about 10 or 15 minutes before you start to turn it over, because you want it to set, because it's risen. If you start handling it too much, it might sink. So just let it cool off in the pan for a while. And then you can, turn it out, take the paper off and turn it right side up.
Yeah, I have a question. It's not really related to how you make the Boston cream pie, but why is it called Boston cream pie instead of Boston cream cake? Is it the
So the information I could find at the time that the chef at the Omni Parker House, or I think it was called the Parker Hotel or Parker House in Boston, was making desserts, there was another dessert out there called, I believe they called it the Washington State pie.
That's right, that's what you were talking about. Yes.
So they just decided to call it the Boston cream pie instead of a cake. So that's the information I could ascertain. Okay. So
you did mention that earlier. You did mention that about.
But it is a cake. It's a cake,
right? I think of it more as a cake than as a pie, but
right.
It's
Boston cream pie.
I don't know why it sounds more patriotic. I don't know why saying pie. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, pie. Yeah. Pie is, I guess, because pie is just, you think, when you think of pie, you always think of it's like an American thing, like apple pie, 4th of July. Yeah, I could see that.
And now, just a little aside, looking at the cake, it reminds me of a Napoleon cake, because they usually.
Yeah, I did like that same, that feather design that they do on the Napoleon. Beautiful. And I just thought it was, like I said, if you go out and search pictures of Boston cream pies, they're just the cake, the naked cake with the cream, and then the drips going down. And I said, I want to do something different. So when I saw the picture of how the Omni Parker House does it, I said, I'm going to do that.
And we do have an answer from Wynn about why the cake is the pie. The cake is called the pie because they originally baked the cake in pie tins. And then Donna mentioned, Donna Monaco,
I didn't find that.
Pies, like all soda is Coke in the South. Oh, that's funny.
Well, there is a video of the chef making it at the Parker House, and he gives kind of a description about the other cake or the other pie and how they do it there. So if anybody comes across it, I think it's out on YouTube. Take a look. You can watch them put it together. They do like 3 layers of cake, but like I said, I could have cut these and made 4, but you need a little more pastry cream then if you're going to fill multiple layers. Traditionally it's 2. They do 3. I did 2 today, so If you do the 8-inch, it's just you're gonna have to slice that horizontally with the cream in between. It's gonna be a little lower affair, but it should taste the same.
And then one last question from Dawn T. Does having an electric oven
Yes.
affect the rising of the cake? My cakes never rise as they should.
It shouldn't. Okay. You should. How old is your baking powder? That's the other thing. Yeah, if you have old baking powder, that could be the culprit too, that it's just not rising. The other thing is that I would recommend getting an oven thermometer and just make sure that the temperature that you're setting is actually the temperature inside the oven, because I've had ovens that have run hot, that have run cold. So that might be like, it's not hot, it might not be hot enough for that initial, lift in the oven. So,
Okay.
I'd be interesting if you make the recipe and it doesn't, I'd love to know. I'd be interested to know how this does in your oven.
I did your carrot cake the other day and the lemon cake, and they're yummy.
Yeah.
But they're like an inch, like very low.
Really?
Really.
And
is there a
really?
test the baking powder? Because baking soda, they say like test it with some vinegar, and if it really bubbles, the baking soda is still good. But I didn't know what to do to test my baking powder.
Honestly, I don't know how to. You would test your baking powder. I would just say go to the store, get a new can.
I need an oven.
I mean, it's not that expensive. Get a new can.
Yeah.
That's so. That's so sad. I'm so that's terrible. I'm so sorry that it didn't
totally
rise.
Yummy, but just they don't look as pretty.
Like I'm really surprised that it didn't rise. Like I said, check your oven temperature too.
Yeah.
The other thing is I could say that, there's no butter, so we're not whipping the butter and the sugar in the carrot cake. That's oil based.
Right.
Did you use the buttermilk?
I did. My carrots were very wet. Was that a problem that my carrots were so wet? Should I dried them?
Okay. Did you grate them on a large grater or a small grater?
Small grate.
Yeah, that's what I did, on a smaller grate. If you feel that there's too much moisture, like my carrots weren't that wet, press them between some paper toweling, or even press them through a mesh sieve, to get that liquid out if you think that that's what's causing it. What kind of pan did you use?
For the carrot cake, just an 8x8 square metal pan. Not like Pyrex.
I mean, that's what I use.
Yeah.
No, that's what I use.
And with the
I said, maybe
parchment paper.
No, that shouldn't be. It didn't do anything. But you did use baking powder and baking soda, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's delicious.
And I feel so bad.
That makes perfect, right? Donna has some suggestions in the chat. Rotate the cake pans or use convection oven, and don't grease the side.
Right. Do you have a gas or an electric?
So my oven's electric, but the stove top, like the burners are gas. So it's both. But it can usually to bake, it's only electric.
Right. And that's usually the better way to go, because sometimes with the gas, you get like hot spots in your oven. Again, you could try the convection. You're going to need to set it like 25 degrees lower. My oven automatically does that. Like the cake is at 350. If I were to do convection 350, it would automatically drop the temperature to 325. So just make sure we have a little friend here down.
That's so cute.
I knew one of them had to get in on the act. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So know you should, if you have a convection setting, just make sure you know how it's set, because mine will automatically just drop it to 25 degrees when I set it. So that's a good tip. You can try the convection, see if that works. Might be a more even heating around the pan. Okay. Again, maybe just getting yourself a new can of baking powder.
Okay.
2 other recommendations in the chat. Donna says.
Oh wait, the other thing is the butter. One question: the buttermilk that you used, was it thin or was it very thick?
So I got the Friendship, but it was like the Friendship
Yes.
Light, but it was still thicker than some other brands that I've used.
That's actually the one I use in the yellow and white carton.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
one I use. Yep.
Okay.
So you probably saw in the chat, Donna also suggested don't grease the sides of the pan, just the bottom.
Mhm.
And then Connie recommends.
Yeah, it may
sometimes-
slide. It may slide, but it's, that's never really happened to me. That's really odd.
And Connie
Interesting how to
recommends,
troubleshoot this.
it depends on the order in which you put the leavening and the vanilla. That might cause it not to rise. No?
Well, the leavening is whisked inside in with the dry ingredients.
Right.
So
So if you
it's all
forget and put
added,
it in later, maybe that would.
no, that's when you should. Oh, the other thing is with like sometimes with baking powder, baking soda, as soon as it hits the wet ingredients, it will start to react. So the sooner you can get it in the oven, the better. So, but the last thing that goes in is your dry ingredients for the carrot cake. So you're whisking your dry ingredients together and you're adding it at the end. So, and as soon as you get it in the pan, I would get it right into the oven. I wouldn't let it sit on your counter.
Mm-hmm.
So this cake is also another good cake to use for like a strawberry shortcake. You can cut it in half and put whipped cream and some strawberries and a little whipped cream on top.
Connie says
This will work for that.
Connie's.
Connie just showed us her cake. Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, it looks great. I know that she said she was baking
Very
today.
nice.
Oh, so you made two. You doubled it and made two? 8 inches?
I doubled it and did 2 8-inch because I only had 8-inch pans.
Excellent. So you're gonna have a nice big cake.
Well, it's gonna be big, but I didn't want it small with one layer, so too much is never enough.
Right. But I did, it gave you the option. It's a small, I know people are like smaller portions, smaller gatherings right now. Hopefully we can make big cakes very soon.
And Wynn was also baking, but maybe it's just not ready yet. It looks like,
Okay.
oh, yeah, it looks like it's ready to come out.
Yay! Let me see if I can, you know what, I can only see like 5 of the screens. Let me see where we are. Rosetta, were you baking today or just watching? Hey, Donna.
Just
Let's
watching
see.
today.
Okay.
Who are we looking for?
Well, it comes up as Wynn Petchor.
Oh, there you are.
But
Okay.
sometimes- Yeah,
Yep.
there he is. He's got his cake, the rack ready.
Good for you. You can unmute. Unmute yourself. Tell us about your cake.
1 minute. It's like it'll be ready in like a minute or two.
Ooh.
Oh, okay, good. Good.
Yeah, he made it all by himself. I watched him.
Good for him. That's fantastic. I
awesome.
love when the kids are in there
Baking.
doing it themselves.
Yeah, sure. Excellent.
I mean, I that's how I learned. You just have to jump in and do it. That's it.
Right? And don't worry about making a mistake because it takes
No.
practice.
Because I'm telling you, baking is about repetition. You have to just, keep doing it over and over. I mean, there are some things that I didn't really feel comfortable with making, like caramel. It took me a year to really feel comfortable, to really be able to get it right. The more you read up about it, the more you watch, the more you do. It's repetition. It really is. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to be with it. If that's one piece of advice I could give anybody about baking, it's not even about how to, fold in the flour. You have to do it and just keep doing it. And every time you do it, you're going to find that it just becomes easier. You're more confident, and it'll just, you'll be so happy.
Oh, here it comes. Wow. Very nice.
Yay!
That's awesome.
Woo! Now we let that cool off.
Well done, everybody. So if you'd
Well
like
done.
to
Thank you
send me
so much,
pictures-
everybody, for joining us this afternoon.
And Tina,
I
we'll
hope everybody who's baking enjoys their cakes tonight.
and we'll definitely schedule something over the summer, most likely in July, maybe, or August,
Terrific.
right? And
Yeah.
if you want to share how your Boston cream pie turned out, you can send me your picture. Oh, I just tried to.
Yep, and send them to me as well. Love to see them.
So thank you, everybody. This concludes our program for today.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.